Hello, I'm Bakhtiar Sonova and you're watching A News. Let's see the top stories. Multiple drones were shot down over Poland's airspace during a Russian attack on Ukraine. The world reacts to the Israeli strike on Hamas leaders in Qatar. And Iran and the International Atomic Energy Agency reach an agreement to resume nuclear inspections. Poland recorded 19 Russian drone incursions overnight, prompting the shooting down of a few by NATO and Polish jets. In response to the unprecedented violation of its airspace, President Karol Nawrocki has called a National Security Council meeting within 48 hours.
Poland's airspace was violated overnight by 19 Russian drones, prompting Polish and NATO jets to scramble. 3 or 4 of the drones were shot down, with the last interception reported at 6:45 local time. Prime Minister Donald Tusk said a significant number of the drones entered from Belarus. He emphasized that only drones posing a direct threat were shot down and that operations were conducted safely.
This is the first time Russian drones have been shot down over the territory of a NATO country. Therefore, all our allies are taking the situation very seriously. We have not recorded any casualties. We are ready to repel such provocations and attacks. We are well prepared and the situation is serious.
President Karol Nawrocki announced that a National Security Council meeting will be held within 48 hours. Residents in 3 eastern regions were told to stay at home. Chopin Airport in Warsaw briefly closed, while Lublin Airport remains closed. Belarus said some drones went off course due to electronic warfare and warned Poland and Lithuania. Earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said at least 8 Shahed drones were aimed toward Poland, calling it a dangerous precedent for Europe and urging a joint response from Ukraine, Poland and European partners. NATO confirmed that it is consulting closely with Warsaw but did not classify the incident as an attack on a member state.
With the cash balances, Putin's message is clear. And our response must be clear too. We need more pressure on Russia to come to the negotiation table. We need more sanctions. We are now working on the 19th package in coordination with partners. We're particularly looking at phasing out Russian fossil fuels faster. We're looking at the shadow fleet and at third countries.
Authorities say the situation is under control, but Poland's National Security Council will meet to determine next steps and coordinate with allies.
Shifting to the Middle East, world leaders have condemned Israel's airstrike in Doha after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed he had ordered what he called a surgical precision strike on Hamas leaders in Qatar. The attack has sparked global alarm, with calls for restraint and fears of regional escalation.
Smoke rising above Doha's skyline, verified video shows the aftermath of an Israeli strike on Tuesday afternoon. Israel says 15 fighter jets carried out the raid, firing 10 munitions at a single site said to house Hamas's top negotiators.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel's security organizations and authorized a surgical precision strike on the terrorist chiefs of Hamas. These are the same terrorist chiefs who planned, launched, and celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th.
Hamas says its leaders survived but confirmed 6 deaths, including Humam al-Haya, son of exiled Gaza chief Halil al-Haya and senior aide Jihad Labad. A Qatari security officer was also killed.
The leadership of the movement survived this cowardly attempt, but a group of martyrs ascended, including brother Jihad Labad and Humam al-Haya.
Qatar's Prime Minister denounced the strike, but vowed Doha's role as mediator will continue.
The attack was a 100% treacherous act. Mediation in Qatari diplomacy is part of its identity, and nothing will deter us from persisting in this role.
Condemnation has poured in. France's Emmanuel Macron called the strikes unacceptable, whatever the reason. Britain's Keir Starmer said they violated Qatar's sovereignty and risked further escalation. Spain, Canada and Ireland voiced similar concerns, while the UN Secretary-General urged a permanent ceasefire, not destroying it. In Washington, President Donald Trump said he was very unhappy with the strike, though he maintained eliminating Hamas remains a worthy goal. The White House later confirmed he had directed envoy Steve Witkoff to warn Qatar, though too late to stop the attack.
Well, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about it. I will say this, we want the hostages back, but we are not thrilled about the way that went down today.
A short time later, the White House sought to clarify Washington's position, stressing support for Qatar while acknowledging Israel's objectives.
Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals, and feels very badly about the location of this attack.
Qatar has hosted Hamas's political bureau since 2012 and has been central to ceasefire negotiations. Sources say the targeted officials were reviewing a US-backed truce proposal when the strike hit. That plan would see remaining hostages freed in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and talks on a permanent ceasefire. Regional diplomats say discussions on the US-backed truce proposal are still scheduled to resume later this week.
Focusing on Asia, protests in Nepal escalated on Monday following the resignation of former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. The unrest started after the government tried to ban social media platforms nationwide. Demonstrators set fire to government buildings, vehicles and officials' homes, including those of former Prime Minister Oli. The Parliament building and the historic Singha Durbar Palace were also damaged. At least 20 people have died and more than 350 injured during 2 days of unrest. Army Chief General urged calm and dialogue while the military has taken control nationwide, deployed troops to the streets and closed all airports. President Ramchandra Paudel is preparing to form a new government. France has a new prime minister after President Macron appointed Sébastien Lecornu, a trusted ally, to navigate a deepening political and economic crisis. Lecornu takes office amid growing public debt, sharp political divides and public unrest. With limited parliamentary support, his ability to build consensus may determine the stability of Macron's remaining term.
French President Emmanuel Macron has appointed Sébastien Lecornu as the new Prime Minister 1 day after a parliamentary vote of no confidence ousted François Bayrou and his cabinet. 39-year-old Lecornu is a long-time ally of Macron and has served as France's defense minister for more than 3 years. Lecornu was among the favourites for the role and is known for his loyalty and experience. He rallied behind Macron during the 2017 presidential campaign and has played a key role in shaping France's military response to Russia's war in Ukraine. The Élysée Palace announced that Lecornu's first mission will be to consult political parties and build agreements needed for upcoming decisions, starting with France's 2026 budget. That budget will be his top priority as the country faces a growing debt crisis. The outgoing Prime Minister, François Bayrou, had pushed for budget cuts, but the National Assembly rejected his plan, leading to his resignation on Tuesday.
Honorable et active.
Reactions to Lecornu's nomination were mixed. Centrists like Marc Fesneau welcomed the move and called for broad cooperation. The left-wing France Unbowed Party condemned it and plans a no-confidence motion, though it's unlikely to pass. Meanwhile, the far-right National Rally showed tentative support, raising concerns that Macron may now depend on their backing in Parliament. Parisians reacted with a mix of resignation and concern. Many saw the choice as one of continuity rather than change.
Macron, il fait plutôt un bon choix.
Macron is making a pretty good choice because, casually, he's appointing someone who has the image of, I don't know, I'm in favour of safeguarding the country, of national unity. He's the Minister of the Armed Forces. He's not just any minister. He's a minister who builds consensus, who has a bit of the supreme interest of the nation.
The
country's situation is catastrophic. It is completely blocked. So frankly, the future is quite dark.
I have the impression that every Prime Minister who tries to do something truly concrete leaves. So I tell myself it's better for him to do nothing and wait patiently in his seat. even if it means not doing too much and not making too many promises, and at least to finish their term and finish with the president, so that we don't change every 14 seconds.
Until 2027, I have no hope. And even for 2027, I don't have much hope either, to be honest. I think it's going to take a little while before France really changes. But the fact that things won't change anymore, we don't really have hope, in fact.
Lecornu now faces the difficult task of leading a minority government through economic uncertainty and political division, with little room for error.
France is facing a fresh wave of unrest. Police have clashed with demonstrators as a new grassroots movement called Block Everything spread across the country. It comes just days after Prime Minister François Bayrou was ousted in a confidence vote, and amid mounting anger over austerity and the government of President Emmanuel Macron.
At roundabouts, on highways and outside high schools, protesters blocked traffic and faced down riot police in cities across France. In Paris, tear gas was fired at youth demonstrators outside a lycée, while on the capital's ring road, groups tried to slow traffic. Police say at least 83 people have already been detained nationwide, 75 of them in Paris. The mobilisation began online under the slogan "Block Everything," quickly spreading on social media. Initially linked to right-wing groups, analysts say the movement has since been taken over by left and far-left activists, fueling comparisons with the 2018 Yellow Vest protests. The government is taking no chances. Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau says 80,000 police have been deployed nationwide, including 6,000 in Paris, amid warnings that up to 100,000 people could join in, targeting airports, train stations and highways.
I'm here because this illegitimate government must be blocked. We don't want a war market. We don't want austerity. We want money for public services. We want money for schools, for hospitals.
Union leaders argue the protests reflect frustration with Macron's economic reforms and rising defence spending. For many, the appointment of Sébastien Lecornu as France's fifth Prime Minister in less than 2 years has only deepened the anger.
It's the same. It's Macron who's the problem, not the ministers. He has to go. He has to think about it seriously.
Demonstrations have been reported in Marseille, Lyon, Montpellier and Nantes, with roadblocks, cable fires and overturned bins disrupting traffic. Vinci, the highway operator, confirmed widespread delays across southern and western France. The protests come against the backdrop of political turmoil. Just 2 days ago, Bayrou's government fell in parliament over a budget plan to cut 44 billion euros from public spending. Macron has now tasked Lecornu with forming a new administration, while opposition parties prepare no-confidence motions. The scale of disruption remains uncertain. Police report arrests are mounting, blockades are spreading, and security forces remain on alert as the Block Everything protests continue across France.
Welcome back to A News. France is facing one of its deepest political crises in recent memory. Prime Minister François Bayrou and his centrist minority government have been ousted after losing a confidence vote in the National Assembly, with 364 lawmakers voting against him. The fallout has sent shockwaves through Paris. President Emmanuel Macron, already struggling with historically low approval ratings, now confronts mounting questions about his leadership, public discontent and the future of French politics. Amid the turmoil, Macron has appointed Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu as the new Prime Minister, tasking him with the urgent mission of bridging divides and passing a budget for the world's 7th largest economy. To help us better understand these dramatic developments, we are joined from Paris by Pascal Mas, a geopolitics analyst. Pascal, thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Let's begin with the basics. How significant is this ousting of François Bayrou in the context of French political history?
First of all, Mr. Bayrou imposed himself as prime minister to the president, because the private choice of the president Macron was at the very beginning Mr. Lecornu himself. And so Bayrou forced the president to name him as prime minister. And the basic thing is Mr. Bayrou is from the center party, and the National Assembly now is constituted by three main blocks. The center party, where we can find the president's friends, the ultra-left party, which is making trouble at the time being in the street of France, Paris and other big cities, and the National Rally, which is the right party, the party of the right. And Mr. Bayrou represented only few members of parliament and few votes. And for Mr. Lecornu, who is a very good friend, a personal good friend of the president, it's exactly the same. So Mr. Lecornu is well appreciated by many people, because he's very polite, he's well educated. He has the sense of listening people and making decisions on the right way. But for the time being, considering the financial and economic crisis France is facing, not the kind of prime minister the country needs, but somebody who is able to make decisions even though they are cruel. And it is not the case. Mr. Lecornu will have to face the main point, which is making all the trouble, which is the forecast budget. And if there is no reason for, at the time being, that Mr. Lecornu will pass over the month of December.
Mr. Mercer, how damaging is this crisis for President Emmanuel Macron's authority, both domestically and internationally?
Well, so the President Macron doesn't care anymore, anyway, of the local business, the local questions. Domestic questions. He only takes care of international summits and all these kind of things. For the time being, he has only 15 points of people who are supporting him. 15, can you imagine? And he doesn't care at all what is occurring in the street. And that's for this reason he named Mr. Lecornu, who is a very close friend, to take care of domestic question on which he has no more efficiency. And so for Macron, Lecornu is the way to avoid greater problems with the population.
Even some voices are calling on Macron to step aside. Do you see this as a realistic scenario?
This is not in the constitution, but for sure, more and more people, including people from his party and from his range, are asking him to resign. Yes.
And even Marine Le Pen has demanded another parliamentary dissolution. How likely is it that Macron will give in to such calls?
Not only Marine Le Pen, but also the ultra-leftists from LFI, Mr. Mélenchon, ask also for new parliament votes, because these two parties, these 2 points, are sure to get more influence in the parliament. Mrs. Le Pen is expecting at least 40 members of parliament, more than the group she is leading at the moment. And this is exactly the same case on the left side, because the left party is composed of various parties within the ultra-left from LFI, the Green, and communists, and those are in a bad mood from each other. So the ultra-left party of Mélenchon, LFI, the one who is making this trouble in the country every day, not only the 10th of September, but every day, they can expect to get over their colleagues. So this is the reason why they want a new election. It's to enforce the representation in the parliament.
So with Sébastien Lecornu now appointed as Prime Minister, what immediate challenges does he face in trying to govern effectively?
As to cope with the problem of the budget, because this is mainly for this reason Bayrou has been. But instead of being fired by his predecessor, Mr. Barnier, who has been fired by the Parliament, Bayrou took a little advance in order to that he is leaving, not being fired by the representative. And so Lecornu knows all this, but if the budget is satisfying the minorities, I mean the left and the ones from the right, he might be fired as Barnier has been before.
So do you think Lecornu can realistically build consensus on the budget given the fractured state of the French Parliament?
I think he might on the slightest common points. The candidates big and reforms, and for this reason, Lecornu will want to the shooting, because he knows that his minister is very short. And so I think the main reform which are needed and explain the population.
Mr. Mess, what impact could this turmoil have on France's role within the European Union, especially at a time of wider continental challenges?
Well, so France is seen from the outside, including within the European Union, as a country which is not led. It's a country without. It's like a duck without his head, and so it is a tragedy for France, and especially on the economical side, because nobody make support to France, because it's not reliable at all at the moment. He makes his own theater, but there is nothing strictly forced which could make France being a country. It's now something that everybody makes as a laughing subject.
So how is the French public likely to respond to Macron's choice of Lecornu, considering the growing frustration with political elites?
Well, so as I said before, Mr. Lecornu on the human side is well appreciated, but it's not enough. And in Lecornu as Prime Minister, in his paper, and I share this opinion, he naming himself it's a provocation, because he wants to be backed by somebody who is like him, but on the domestic field.
So finally, what scenarios do you foresee in the coming month? Political compromise, continued deadlock, or a deeper constitutional crisis?
There is no problem with the constitution. The problem is that France is not accustomed to the political system that is realistic in some countries like Germany, Italy, Spain, and Belgium, where all the members of the government nor of the parliament are on the same side. We are not, because the constitution has been written by General de Gaulle just to refrain from the political instability. So the constitution is not the question. The question is the parties who should be able to speak to each other, and this is not the case at all, because between the ultra left and the National Rally, there is no common to each other. They are not unable to speak to each other, or even on basics of some things. So they are supporting one kind of budget, which is completely intolerable for the rest of the SF. And so Le Cornu, as I told you, maybe this will be the last days for him. And that's a pity because, as I told you, humanly is a very good guy.
Pascal Mers, geopolitics analyst, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us from Paris. We greatly appreciate your time and perspective. Thanks a lot. And welcome back to A News Now. Let's take a closer look at the key stories shaping the region. Moving to Iran, the UN nuclear watchdog has agreed to resume inspections of the country's nuclear facilities, a step seen as easing tensions with Europe. Officials caution, however, that any move to reimpose sanctions could jeopardize these measures.
Iran and the International Atomic Energy Agency have reached an agreement to restart inspections of Tehran's nuclear sites. The deal, signed in Cairo, sets out practical mechanisms that comply with Iranian law passed after US and Israeli attacks in June suspended inspections. Arakchi said the understanding reflects Iran's exceptional security circumstances.
I shall stress that in case of any hostile act against my country, and in the event of reimposition of terminated United Nations Security Council resolutions, Iran will regard these practical steps as terminated.
Arakchi said the understanding reflects Iran's exceptional security circumstances while meeting the technical requirements of the UN nuclear watchdog. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi welcomed the development.
This is a step in the right direction. This is a door we are opening. And of course, there are many things that still need to happen. We have to implement it in good faith. Others around the world can help us. And I am sure that they will do right that.
The agreement comes as France, Britain and Germany have begun a 30-day process to restore sanctions lifted under the 2015 nuclear deal unless Iran fully resumes inspections, accounts for its near weapons-grade uranium and re-engages in talks with the United States. State media said the deal finalizes how Iran will implement its safeguards obligations, marking a rare moment of cooperation after months of tension.
Now, Turkey's Defense Minister Yashar Güler met with Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in Islamabad on Tuesday. The National Defense Ministry announced. Güler and his delegation held discussions with Sharif and other officials. Güler also conveyed greetings from Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to the Pakistani leader. Earlier, the Turkish minister held meetings with Pakistan's Defense Minister and Commerce Minister. In Georgia, the National Central Election Commission has announced that the local elections will be held on October 4th, with 12 political parties taking part. 2 parties were struck off the list after failing to nominate candidates for mayors or deputies. A little over 3,000 polling stations will open nationwide, with voting held in 64 cities and districts. International observers from Azerbaijan, Hungary, Slovakia, Armenia and Fiji will monitor the process alongside 16 registered organizations. Now, leaders and experts from across Asia met in Baku for the 13th SICA Think Tank Forum to discuss ways of boosting security, energy and regional connectivity. The 2-day event opened with a message from Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev, underlining his country's commitment to cooperation, followed by sessions focusing on Middle Corridor and the Belt and Road Initiative.
Will present and formally adopt the agenda.
Baku hosts the 13th Conference on Interaction and Confidence-Building Measures in Asia, CICA, Think Tank Forum, with 90 policymakers, experts, researchers and delegates from over 10 countries gathering to discuss researched proposals and recommendations to explore key issues across Asia. The 2-day forum, co-organized by Azerbaijan's AIR Center and the Shanghai Institutes for International Studies, focuses on the theme, the resonance of development and security. The event opened with a video presentation and a special message from President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, delivered to participants by the head of the AIR Center, Farid Shafiev, highlighting Azerbaijan's commitment to building trust and advancing cooperation across Asia. Throughout the day, speakers led sessions on security governance, supply chain cooperation in the era of green and digital transition, energy, and major connectivity projects, with particular attention to the Middle Corridor, the Belt and Road Initiative, and the International North-South Transport Corridor. Some speakers even joined online to share their proposals and recommendations.
Upcoming Seeker Summit in 2026, and I wish for all the participants.
Speakers emphasized Azerbaijan's strategic role in these projects and its potential to drive stronger regional integration throughout the panels.
Indeed, very important event, not only for Azerbaijan, but also for whole countries, participating countries, as this event will deepen the bilateral cooperation in different sectors, especially connectivity, energy, and at this session we discussed very important issues, such as the Middle Corridor, which is important for Azerbaijan, also for Central Asian countries, for China to develop this route.
Building on this, Chinese experts highlighted how such initiatives could reshape connectivity across the continent.
So personally, I see here a huge potential in the synergy between the two projects, because the Middle Corridor, which promoted by Azerbaijan and other regional countries, would be maybe by distance the shortest the transportation road between China and Europe. So that means that could play as the bridge to connecting two major markets. And then I think these projects will also generate and stimulate the regional interactions and economic integration.
You said that is ready to activate.
The day wrapped up with an open discussion where participants engaged directly with panel speakers and exchanged views on how to move proposals forward.
Still in Azerbaijan, Baku is hosting Eternal Brotherhood IV, a multinational joint exercise bringing together special forces from Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Qatar, Turkey and Uzbekistan. Azerbaijan's defense ministry stated that such drills are strategically important not only for exchanging military experience and enhancing practical skills, but also for strengthening international security and maintaining peace in the region. Shifting to Central Asia, the Space Days Kazakhstan 2025 forum is underway in Almaty, bringing together leading experts, global space agencies and companies to discuss new technologies in space exploration. Our Fariza Kalimuzina reports.
According to international analysts, over the next decade, the annual demand for satellite launches may exceed 3,700. However, the existing number of launch vehicles is still insufficient to meet this demand. This and other issues, along with possible solutions, we discussed at the Space Days Kazakhstan Forum here in Almaty. Kazakh experts emphasized that the main task for the country in space exploration and technology development is to attract foreign investment into an industry that still largely depends on Russia's space industry. A central part of this effort is the revival of the Baikonur Cosmodrome, much of which is still leased to Russia. A key project is the modernization of launch pad number 5 under the Baytarek program, and Kazakhstan plans to invest about $1.3 billion in its upgrade. According to the government's vision, these investments should help diversify the sector, which remains heavily dependent on Russia's space program and has faced difficulties in recent years due to the geopolitical situation.
A new launch vehicle will appear at the end of this year. This is the Soyuz 5 rocket, which will be launched from the Baytarek ground complex. We see this project as giving Baikonur a second wind. Of course, it is too early to talk about a sharp increase in the number of launches, but we can confidently say that Baikonur will remain an active cosmodrome. The Baytarek complex is a modernized Zenit launch pad adapted for Soyuz 5. Its key feature compared to existing launch sites is a fully automated launch. Another factor that makes this project promising is the use of a new, advanced and powerful launch vehicle for which there is strong and stable global demand.
The forum also highlighted the growing influence of Chinese and Indian space projects that are actively promoting their capabilities. Last year, China pledged more than $13 million for joint Kazakh-Chinese initiatives in space exploration. Against the backdrop of sanctions pressure on Russia, Chinese companies working in commercial space launches are expected to become the first foreign operators to use Baikonur facilities under Kazakh jurisdiction. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzina, A News.
Welcome back to A News. China has expressed strong interest in supporting the development of the Middle Corridor, underscoring its readiness to contribute to regional connectivity. Speaking at the think tank forum in Baku, Li Yongguang, director of the Institute for Social Development Studies of Eurasia at the Research Center under the State Council of China, emphasized that since the launch of the Belt and Road Initiative, communication infrastructure between China and partner countries has improved significantly. He highlighted Azerbaijan's pivotal role in these corridors' development, stressing the importance of building multiple transport routes and bridges to facilitate trade and economic interaction. To discuss these developments and what they mean for the region, I'm joined from Hong Kong by Andrew K.P. Leung, international and independent China strategist. Mr. Leung, welcome to the program. Mr. Leung, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but I just lost your voice for some reason.
Mr. Leung, China has reaffirmed its interest in the Middle Corridor. How do you interpret Beijing's latest message from the Baku Forum?
Well, previously, China was said to be less interested in the Middle Corridor, but now Beijing is now stepping up its intention and also connections and support of the Middle Corridor because of both economic and geopolitical interests. Economic because it's part and parcel of China's Belt and Road Initiative, connecting China's vast manufacturing powerhouse and also export hub, the trading hub, with Central Asia and Europe. Because the Middle Corridor connects, for example, from the eastern part of China, the Xi'an, central part of Asia, so from Xi'an through Urumqi, which is the western China, and then through Almaty, and then Kazakhstan, with Baku, Azerbaijan, and linking to Turkey, and through Turkey to Eastern Europe. And even if you look at the full map of the Middle Corridor, that could potentially include countries like Ukraine, with this huge reconstruction projects, as well as the linking through that part of Europe to Poland and to Germany. So it's a huge transport and economic network connecting the whole of Central Asia to China. Now, of course, this China's Belt and Road Initiative has been was belittled by the Western countries, but now, as China's interconnectivity is regarded as a geopolitical huge advantage, so America's back interest in the Middle Corridor, typified by the recent meeting in the White House with Azerbaijan's president. And also
Armenia's Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister of Armenia. So that took part on the 8th of August, and that resulted in what the United States call President Trump's route for international peace and prosperity, the TRIPP. So America's backing this middle corridor, seeing it as from a both economic advantage and geopolitical advantage, and herein the two protagonists, as it were, on the global stage, China and the United States, are both involved. And of course, the middle corridor, as I explained earlier, connects the whole of Asia through Central Asia to the rest of Europe. That also ties in with Europe's huge railway network that connects from countries like Italy through Italy to the rest of Europe. There's a huge network, this railway network that's half completed. So I think that this middle corridor is much more than the corridor itself, but connects all the countries in the neighborhood from Central Asia to Europe. So there is also a dimension which is highlighted by the classical strategies, which is called the heartland and the rimland. I don't know whether you know about this kind of geopolitical study, which dates back to the last century. Is the strategies, the heartland strategies, suggest that who controlled the heartland, which was defined as that part of Europe, would control the world. But that was the last century. And then with the rimland is the maritime routes, including the sea routes through Pacific and so on and so forth. So I think that this emphasis on the heartland, the Eurasia, is now back invoked. And hence there are a lot of historical, geostrategic, economic interests involved in the Middle Corridor.
Mr. Leung, do you see China's interest in the Middle Corridor as mainly economic, or are there also geopolitical considerations at play?
I would say that more geopolitical than economic, because China's economy, even though, of course, it depends on the routes, but I wouldn't say that it's just geopolitical, because there's a great deal of economic interest as a result of the Trump's tariffs war, and also is imposing huge shipping charges. The recent shipping tariffs and charges imposed on all ships owned by China regarding its carrying a Chinese flag, calling on American ports. And so this would cause a great deal of impact on the sea routes. And the Middle Corridor, of course, is the land route bypassing all these tariffs. So I think that there's a geopolitical countermeasure involved, but also there are economic factors involved as well.
So what do you think? What infrastructure gaps remain in the Middle Corridor, and how can China contribute to filling them?
First of all, of course, China is the world's largest manufacturer and also infrastructure builder par excellence. No other countries can remotely compare China's ability to construct high-speed rails and railways and bridges the world over. It's not just in Europe, Asia, but in Africa and Latin America, all over the world. And China's big companies armed with its production of very heavy equipment like tunnel drilling equipment, could well build railways and highways in matter of months or at most 1 or 2 years. And there's compare with the Western countries' capacities is miles ahead. So I think that China's got this advantage of construction infrastructure construction ability, especially gained with the development of the Belt and Road Initiative. But I think that some of the remaining barriers are there. For example, the railways may not have the same gauge, and that would cause delays. And of course, custom relations between different countries along the corridor could well call for more harmonization, but through the use of technology, filing through the digital portals could speed up the clearance of through customs of various goods and services.
Mr. Leung, how does Turkey's role as the western gateway of the Middle Corridor align with China's connectivity strategy?
You're talking about Turkey, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Turkey? You're referring to Turkey. Well, Turkey is very, very important. Well, I mean, not least, of course, I took part in the Turkey Istanbul Forum for 6 years when it was held. So I'm always interested in that part of the world. But Turkey, of course, links both Asia, Central Asia, with Europe. And don't forget that Istanbul is at the very heart, the Bosphorus. This kind of a sea that linking the both continents together. And Turkey, of course, is very interested in the Central Asia, particularly under President Erdogan, and trying to win back some of the influence lost as after the First World War as a result of the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. It's now trying to recover some of its ancient influence through connection with the Central Asia and Europe, and adopting a more independent policy. On the one hand, Turkey, of course, is part of NATO, but on the other hand, Turkey is also pivoting to countries like Russia, are also working more closely with the Middle East and Central Asia. So I think that Turkey plays a very important role, particularly the Central Corridor would pass through Turkey, through the rest of Europe.
Andrew Leung, thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insights on this important topic. We truly appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have for now. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned to A News for more.